Welcome to the Nebraska Hawk's Nest. These guys are brave! They're Hawkeyes, living in enemy territory. Listen, these guys are way past their prime, but they're still Hawkeyes! They're spreading the Hawkeye hype to all of Nebraska. The frost advisory is canceled! Cornhuskers? More like corn suckers. Are you ready for this podcast? Let's go Hawks!
All right. Welcome back to the Nebraska Hawk's Nest. Make sure you take a second, hit the like and subscribe button, because Jerry and I's number one goal in life is to be the number one podcast in the whole state of Nebraska. Joining us today is former Iowa Hawkeye football standout, Arena Football League legend, Rodney Filer. Sir, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How you guys?
Doing okay.
We live in Nebraska. So that's a low bar of asking us how we're doing. So,
well, it's not too far away, right?
Not too far.
So, Rodney, catch us up a little bit on what you're up to right now. I know before we got on the interview, you told us a little bit about what your kids are up to. There's a little bit of some Nebraska ties there, and you just update everyone on your life, your children, and how your career's going.
Well, I had a long career. Left Iowa, went to the Chargers for about a year and a half almost. Was on practice squad and activated a couple times. Got released from there and came back here to Des Moines and started playing with the Barnstormers. That year I met my wife, so then Des Moines is now home for me. So then I played 13 more years, arena football, and then I had a little stint with the Jets. So that's my football career. But then at the same time, I started a personal training business. My wife is Gigi's at Gigi's Pilates and personal training, and I'm the personal training part. And we've been doing it for 20 plus years. And for his work, that's what we've been doing, changing lives and helping families get better. You know what I'm saying? My kids, as you said before, my daughter is a senior coming up here this year, basketball player at UNO, so Nebraska Omaha. She's a 4-year starter. She's been kicking butt the whole time. So if you get a chance to go watch them, they're doing great. And then my son, he'll be a sophomore coming up this year at Iowa Western. He plays defensive end.
So for those at home watching on the video interview, that would be a photo of Rodney's daughter in the background on the wall back there. So, and then Rodney, for those of our listeners that are wondering, the studio that you and your wife run, then, is that located in the Des Moines area?
That is, yes, downtown Des Moines.
Okay, fantastic. So, Rodney, you came out of Waco, Texas, I believe, if I remember reading correctly. What was it that led you to Iowa? Who were some of the coaches that contributed to your recruitment, and what was it that brought a Texas kid to the Midwest?
A couple things. Coach Fry was a legend in Texas already. I believe he went to Iowa from North Texas. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct, yes.
Yep. And then so he was already a legend because he was one of the first guys to recruit a black football player. So
sure.
That stood out. And then my coaches that I went to high school with were big fans of Coach Fry already. So he had a plus. If a kid wanted to go to Iowa, they would direct him in that direction. I had another former Hawkeye who was from my high school, Maurier Crane. He played D tackle with Mike Wells and those guys. So that's another push in that direction because it's a guy I knew from high school. But then the kicker was the one that tipped the scale was guys by the name of Cedric Shaw, Kerry Cooks, Damon Robinson, Ples Atkins, Demo Odoms, Billy Coates. I mean, it's basically guys that I played against in high school that were on the Hawkeyes that lived in a 100-mile area that were there or going there with me. So it was basically Texas too, and Iowa City, basically.
You know, we hear a lot on Hayden about, you know, how he integrated the Southwest Conference with Jerry Levias while at SMU, but that's kind of an interesting take you had on it because you don't really, I don't know if we necessarily hear what a legend he was in Texas with the high school coaches to help bring players like yourself up to Iowa. And, you know, that's a very interesting point. So, but anyway, go ahead.
Coach Fry had the philosophy, you know, like, and he told this to me. He was like, you know, you can go to Texas and not get, you know, the 5-star guy. You can get his backup who just hadn't got the same amount of reps that's just as good and make him just as good. So he had a different mindset on how he was recruited, you know.
I got to ask Rodney a quick question before we move on. This is completely off topic, but I noticed he finished out high school out in Waco, Texas, right during the time with the David Koresh incident that went on. And that's one of the weirdest things to ever happen in American history. So I really want to get your take on being a high school student in that area during that time and how odd that must have been.
Well, first thing, most of us didn't know about the situation until all the police things that happened, right?
Okay.
So it was not like in the city limits. It was just right on the outskirts somewhere in the country. And it was Waco PD or whoever they had to go deal with the situation. But I have a cool story about that. My first job I had was at the original Buzzard Billy's. I don't know if you ever been to Des Moines.
Yep. Yeah.
Same owner.
I'm from Des Moines.
Okay.
So am I.
So actually the same owner. So the first store they opened was in Waco, Texas. And I was a bus boy and dishwasher there, making extra money. So I'm walking to work and I see this guy standing on a box talking about he was Jesus Christ. Okay. Now it's not just me; it's me and a couple of my other coworkers that work with me. But we were going in, and me being me, I was like, "If you're Jesus Christ, Jesus is supposed to be perfect. Why do you have glasses on?" And we all just cracked up. So, you know, that we took it as funny, but as later happened. We see what that built into when he got the following that he had and all the things. So
that's crazy.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So you get to Iowa and you start playing. And who were the guys that made an immediate impact on you when you got up there? I mean, you talked about your guys from the area that were up there, but who were some of the other guys that when you got to campus just stood out and you were just like, wow, I got to step up my game with this competition?
Well, they called me Big Bod when I first got there. So, because I was basically almost built like a grown man as I walked on campus, which took part of me playing my freshman year. But I have to say, our backfield was stacked back then. I mean, most of the players that were on that team that was in that period, most of them had a chance in the league and played for at least a year or two. So, I mean, Ryan Terry, because I came in as a running back. So Ryan Terry, Cedric Shaw, Tavian Banks, who came in with me. I think Trevor Bowlers was another fullback that went to the league. Kent Call, guys that were pretty good. So, it just competition. You got to step up, if you want to have a chance. So,
definitely.
I did what I could.
So you get in there then and you start out and as you stated, you played right away. You didn't have a redshirt year then when you started away, and that was due to your size. Is that how I'm understanding it? Or
Oh no, I had skill too. I was a monster. Well,
come on, Jerry, give him some credit.
No,
I'm trying to make him work for it here.
The thing about it, I had no fear because I was already, like my linemen in high school, they averaged about 315. I had a college line coming out. So playing against big people, that didn't bother me at all. You know what I'm saying? So I was used to that. That's part of the Texas, mindset that I had. They're big in Texas, so I already knew. But I guess if you have a fullback that, ran a 4.4 40 and,
Wow.
I also played linebacker too, so I wasn't afraid to. Well, I was a running back first, but they made me a fullback because I wasn't afraid to hit too and maximize the speed. So that's where I got to play. And then for me, I was like, well, I got Ryan Terry, Cedric Shaw, and Tavian Banks. I got those three that I got to contend with, or I can go to fullback and it's me and Kent Call. I think I'll take my chances there, right?
Sure. So a 4.4 40, that had to help you keep up when you were trying to block for the likes of Tim Dwight then, right? Because otherwise he would have flew right by you.
Oh yeah. I mean, tell you the truth, we had one of the faster teams. Like everybody, like a lot of people could go. Tavian's just as fast, maybe faster than Tim.
Sure.
You never know. Damon Gibson, who played with the Jacksonville Jaguars, he was a kick returner, also a receiver. He was right there. We had so many guys that could run. It just, Tim made the most of his opportunities, and actually, he excelled when he did it. So.
Rodney, I want to get your take on from your time at Iowa, playing in front of one of the most passionate fan bases in the country, and then you move on to the NFL with the San Diego Chargers, which has notably had not much of a dedicated fan base. They really don't come out in droves to go to the games. There's so much more going on in San Diego, which led to the team eventually moving. What was that change like? Not only just going from dealing with like the greatest fan base, if not, one of the greatest fan bases in college football, and then going to the NFL where you're playing, with a fan base that doesn't kind of take it or leave it for the most part.
Well, see, my experience, if I'm not mistaken, I think San Diego were they just in the Super Bowl when the year before I got there, I think.
Yeah, around that time, yeah.
I think Ronnie Harmon actually was retiring that year that I came in. He retired that year. So at that point, the fan base was still pretty good,
Okay.
I didn't have, I mean, it's the NFL, so if I hear a crowd roaring, I mean, it was great,
Yeah.
My take on how we were taught to treat fans and things. So there were fans there. I mean, we had the passion. We still had Junior Seau. We still had, some of those great players that they had. So the passion was still there from the fans. Okay.
That's interesting because you were really there during that time period where San Diego Charger football might have been at its peak. Tell us about what it was like and if you had much interactions with a legend like Junior Seau because, he suffered a lot from the CTE and that eventually, led to him taking his life. But everyone that's interacted with him has had such amazing experiences and such great stories to tell on how wonderful of a person he is.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was, interactions. I had many interactions with him because I was the scout team fullback most of the time. So so I was going one-on-one against him most of the time anyway. which made me the player I am right now. That I play. My mindset that I play with the rest of my career. No, Junior was a great guy. When I was released from the Chargers, it was more of a injury type of release. Somebody else got hurt, so they had to fill the spot. So I was the odd man out that they needed to make space with.
Okay.
So I got released from that. But this is what Junior did for me. He said, because he knew I was a rookie. He said, stay here another week. I'm going to put you up into a hotel. You can come hang out with me, come eat, whatever.
Wow.
He's like, you make me work harder than I work in the games. He's like, I don't know why they're letting you go, but let me know if I can do anything for you. And obviously I didn't take it. But that was very generous of him to offer that for me, just so I could just get my mind collected, because that's kind of hard sometimes. But yeah, no, great person. He called me probably like 4 times since I was released, so he kind of checked up on me. So he was a great guy.
Wow. What a guy. That's amazing to hear something like that, and that goes along with all the stories you hear about Junior Seau. I wanted to get your take too, because it didn't happen to you quite as many times, but you watch like shows like HBO Hard Knocks and everything like that, and you see when guys get released from teams and they are just totally cool with it. I know it's a business and you got to be professional, and they just shake hands and move on. And it's like, okay, whatever. It doesn't seem to affect him at all. If I were to get released, I'd probably flip the table and be pissed off and upset. And you never see anybody get like that. Have you ever heard any stories about a guy getting released and having a not so professional interaction with the GM or head coach?
Not really. No, not really.
Okay.
Everyone I've been around were, stand-up type of guys, so not really. I mean, that's surprising, but you think sometimes that might happen, but
you would think with the intensity with some of these guys and, just the adrenaline all the time that they would be like, somebody at some point would kind of flip out and, be mad. But you never, ever hear about that or see that, which always surprises me. Most guys are going to be professional because it's a business and you want to get a good recommendation for your next job.
Exactly.
But guys that come in and, kill themselves and lay it all out on the line and then they end up getting cut, which happens all the time.
Right.
You would expect there'd be a few stories out there, and you just never hear any.
Honestly, I have never. Which you said the correct point, right? Mm-hmm. They're looking for that referral to the next coach that might be looking to bring that person in. So you're trying to go out on the best case scenario as you can.
Yeah.
So Rodney, with the Chargers, were you was that during the '97 season, or was this coming up on the 1998 season when this all occurred with Junior and the story, and when you got cut?
So graduated. So as soon as I graduated, got done with school, it was right after that rookie camp.
Right. Okay.
Right there. Yeah.
Okay, so you were a little bit ahead of the Ryan Leaf draft then when Ryan Leaf came in the following year in '98.
Well, I was there though. I was in camp.
Oh, were you?
Yes, I was in camp.
Speaking of unprofessional.
Matter of fact, my locker was right across the locker room from the whole debacle that happened. So I was actually right next to Rodney Harrison, who was my locker mate next to me. They had the two Rodneys together, and yeah. So it was right after practice, and yeah. Now, I mean, to give Ryan some credit, the guy was not being very professional at the questions, but still, you gotta hold your your hammer.
Yeah. Oh, and again, he's still a 22-year-old kid, and I mean, he was put in the limelight, and Do you think that he was handled very well by the Chargers organization to prepare him for that, or did they just kind of leave him out there to have to fend for himself?
Now, my personal opinion on that. Now, that doesn't mean it's right, but I'm gonna tell you how it is.
Yeah.
I felt like instead of building confidence in the kid, they tore him down a lot.
Okay.
Whereas, like, he'd make a great play in practice, a super duper play. Like, he threw up one pass to Webster Slaughter that was on a rope for like 40, 50 yards. Like, down, I mean, great throw, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he got yanked and yelled at and whatever because he didn't make the right read at that time, you know. So for me, I would have loved somebody to say, great throw, but you should have threw here. Let's learn from that type of deal. But it wasn't like that. It was a little bit more aggressive, which comes with you being a first round draft pick too. So I can't.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
That would be the worst job in like professional sports to have, in my opinion, would be a young NFL quarterback, because they don't, a lot of situations you come in, you have not a great offensive line blocking for you, you have no protection, and you just get thrown to the wolves. And then, you know, it's like, okay, you're under duress all the time and running for your life and you're not making great throws. Then you get like shipped off and like you don't get another chance. That's one position I've never really quite understood with the NFL, that they're so quick just to give up on one of these guys when they have struggles, yet you didn't give him the foundation to have any success to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, you know, if you're, well, that's what you hope. You hope the first round draft pick has the foundation to be able to push through adversity, right? That's what you're hoping. So, you know, it's just, I mean, he was a great player. He had a strong arm. He could have turned out great. You just throw your chips in and see what it is.
Yeah.
Yep. So then, Rodney, going back to your Iowa experience, you know, when we were going back through some of the years here that you were there, one of the things that stood out to me was the Alamo Bowl. I believe it would have been your junior year, and you guys went down and played a Texas Tech team with Byron Hansford. And I remember how they talked about, you know, Byron. I think he was one of the top rushers that year in the nation, and they talked about how was our defense going to shut them down. And, you know, you guys ended up coming out 27-0. You blanked him. You shut him down. I mean, take us through that experience. I mean, that was really kind of it seemed like it was well prepared, well executed game plan. Take us behind the scenes on that. And if you could, and kind of help maybe fill in the audience on what it took to have such a commanding performance.
Yeah. Well, that was my senior year.
Oh, it was your senior year. Excuse me.
Senior year. So, you know, the cool thing about having a stable of running backs is, you know, you can kind of find somebody in your stable that kind of mimics what that kid does. So, you know, Tavian Banks, just as fast as Hanspard. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You know, your defense is used to chasing him. So Hanspard, you know, he's similar. Sure. Right? But the thing that we had that Texas Tech didn't have, they didn't have our line. Our line was one of the top lines in the nation, right?
Yeah.
Those guys were in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So having Tavian run the plays that Texas Tech ran with our line, that was more of a hassle than Hanspard himself with a smaller Texas Tech line that they had. So our defense was ready to go.
Yeah. And it showed. How satisfying was that to be in your own backyard back in Texas to have that then your senior year?
Oh, I love that because a lot of my family didn't make the trip up to Texas. So that I'm up to Iowa. So that's, you know, they don't do the cold weather like that. So, so I think the Alamo Bowl was probably my mom's fourth game that she's seen, like in person.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, you know, it was very special. And the thing for me was, because my junior year, I tore my ACL. That was the year in the game that I came out And when I got my chance to play, I tried to do the best I could. So that was a big feeling for me.
Rodney, when you transitioned from Texas to the University of Iowa, I don't know if you can remember that feeling back when you were taking the field for the first time in Kinnick for a game. What was your first impressions of the atmosphere and the crowd and everything around you? Kind of walk us through how you felt.
So being a freshman coming in, most likely you're at the back of the swarm, right? So everybody's holding hands. You're coming down the hallway, coming down the stairs, and just to see your brothers in front of you holding hands in unity, and then hearing the crowd and just the roar of all just black and gold, it was awesome. It was incredible. But that's part of the reason I chose Big Ten football. I wanted something different because I could have went to Texas. I could have went to A&M. I could have went to Baylor right there in Waco. I had options, but I wanted to play somewhere where I hadn't played before. I hadn't seen. I wanted something new. And once I seen that and the fan support that we all talk about, I felt like I was home and this is where I wanted to be. And I made the great choice to be a Hawkeye. And then I tried to make the most of it.
Oh. So transitioning then after the Hawkeyes and after the Chargers and Rodney, what makes this kind of unique when I was researching this is the fact that you were a 13-year veteran of arena football, and that you don't really see that kind of longevity in arena. It always seems like guys either can some guys can transition up, other guys maybe don't last. But what was the story behind your longevity in arena football? What was some of the biggest adjustments, or was it attuned to more of your game, or what take us behind that longevity?
When I came in to arena football, at that time they mostly used a smaller lineman as the fullback.
Okay.
Right? Because the linebacker has basically a 5-yard head start before he comes and wrecks you to get to the quarterback that's 3 steps behind you,
That's right, yeah.
Right? But when I came in, going against Junior Seau for, how many months or whatever, I had the mentality that I could block anybody.
Okay.
So with me being able to block and do it well, then it opened up other parts of the offense that most offenses didn't get to do. Like you could run a screen with me. You could run a toss with me because I was fast enough to get outside and do other things, right? But in arena football also, back then you played both ways. So it was 7 minutes, offense, defense, special teams, kind of like hockey, right? Yep. 7 minutes on, 7 minutes off. So with me and my linebacker background also, I was able to flip on the other side and do well also. So the more you can do, the longer you can play.
You were the true Iron Man, in other words.
Yes, sir.
Rodney, wanted to ask you too. We like to ask all the former players this, and we've gotten some really awesome responses too. Back from your playing time at Iowa or the Arena Football League, do you have any situation that maybe happened in practice, the weight room conditioning, or anything like that where you were just like, okay, like, this is a crazy thing that happened, something that you'll be just hanging out on a random Tuesday at home and it'll bring a smile to your face where you'll kind of laugh about something kind of off the wall or weird that happened that the average fan wouldn't know about? Like a weird practice interaction or something like that. Maybe it could have been a scuffle in practice. Could be just like, I always refer. Go ahead.
There's always scuffles, it's just not. Yeah,
Nothing too
Nothing
wild
that
that you
would
can
be-
remember
Nothing that would be funny, you know.
or interesting at all.
Probably my later years, because I did. I had a busier schedule during my later years playing with the Barnstormers, and a lot of times, I would let the coach know, but I'd have to come in a little bit later. I'd stay and make it up and do whatever, but I'd come in a little later just because of my schedule. And with him knowing the professional I am, he's okay with it because I played there for however many years. Well, some of the rookies didn't agree with that. They just start yipping and talking, right? And which, if I was a rookie too, I'd be like, no, you got to be here when we got to be here. I understand that, which that's what I told him. I said, I should be here when you are, but just my life right now is not letting me get here on time. So I'm letting you know, coach is not punishing you for me not being here. So, I'm doing what I can do. I just tried to explain that to him. Well, during practice, this young man comes, and granted, he's a rookie, so he doesn't know who I am anyway, right? So he comes, and it's a run play. So I run the ball. They blow the whistle. We stop. The kid comes from at least 5 yards away and just lets me have it. Boom. Knocks me on the ground.
Trying to send a message or something.
Right. So, me being calm and cool like I usually am, I already know because I played arena football for a long time. Is eventually we're going to meet up somewhere, right? So 2 plays later, we run to his side with a run play, and he's wide. He's free. He's coming. It's one-on-one, and I just truck him. He's a big defensive end. He probably was 6'5", probably 235, 240. He was coming. I just trucked him and just walked in the end zone. And then I was just like, this is why I'm professional and I'm doing what I'm doing. But I can't tell you exactly what I said, but I was saying, I've been here. I get certain privileges, but
yeah.
So
What?
nothing exciting, just.
Well, that was a good story, though. I had to feel good at putting that guy down on the mat. Listen up, youngster. I'm a veteran. You don't talk to me that way.
Right. And they thought I was old too because I had gray hair when I was playing too, so I was still.
All right.
Adam, I don't know.
Man.
Adam, what I took out of that is if we got any secrets, we can trust Rodney with them because he wasn't going to incriminate anybody. He was sorting through there.
I can see the look on his face. He's like, "Yeah, I got stories. I'm not going to share them with you though because it's the code of silence."
But I can't share.
That's all right. That's all right, Rodney. If I ever got to confide in somebody, I'm calling you because I know it's going away in the lockbox. So, anyway,
nothing that was bad. It was just stuff that we probably shouldn't have done, but we did anyway.
Yeah, we've all done that.
So, Rodney, take me back, kind of going again with your Barnstormers. You started in '99 with the Barnstormers, am I correct?
Correct.
So that was about the time Kurt Warner ascended to his the Rams in the '99 season, went to the Super Bowl and MVP. What was there a buzz in the locker room at that time about all of that going on with you guys playing arena for the Barnstormers? I mean, was it just business as usual, or was there a real buzz going on behind the scenes with the Barnstormers as Kurt was making his name that season?
Oh yeah, it was a buzz. It was a buzz because that was, that was one of the stars of the league, getting a chance. So he was probably one of the first ones to actually get picked up and have a legit chance. And my year, I think he was going to the World League at that point.
Okay.
He referred to the World League.
Okay. Like NFL Europe, I think it was. Same, but they called it the World League. I remember that.
Right. So we were more so dealing with who was going to replace him as the starter, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had 1 year, because I was like 1 year in between when he left and when I came. So it was 1 year in between, and they had just figured out which quarterback was going to be the one to take over. And he ended up being the one that broke all of Kurt's records. So
That was Aaron Garcia, wasn't it?
Aaron Garcia, yes.
Yeah, that's
I
what I
remember
thought.
him.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, it just, you know, it was just an amazing. Adam and I are both from Des Moines, as we said, and it was just an amazing story to see from the outside. But it can only imagine what it was like seeing you guys, because I mean, everybody's wanting to try, I think, to make a name and try to get noticed to kind of continue on in the game. So I appreciate the insight on that.
Yeah, I mean, I had a little bit of both, right? I came down from NFL to Arena, and then when we got sold to New York, when the Barnstormers got sold to New York.
Yeah, I remember that.
To New York, and that's how I got noticed by the Jets also. So that's how I got my little short stint with the Jets that I had.
Okay. Very cool.
And
Was there any other sniffs from any other NFL teams while you were in the Arena League then, or?
Yeah, I had one situation where one of the assistant GM, or I think, or player personnel guys, one of the guys that was at San Diego that brought me to San Diego went to Dallas. And he, at that time, reached out to me and said, asked me if I wanted to come into camp and try it out. At that time, it wasn't a great time for me. We had just opened our business. We had just moved into a new house, you know, so the uncertainty of funds there, just for the chance, I couldn't risk it. So I ended up turning it down, which I'm fine with.
Well, Rodney, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule from running a successful business and catching Hawkeye Nation on everything that you got going on.
Actually, we did this with one other guest. I want to put you on the spot, Rodney.
Okay.
So we did this with Quinn Early. We asked him, Quinn Early, if he had one more season of eligibility left, and we gave him 3 choices of quarterbacks he played alongside. So Rodney Filer's coming back one more year, and you get one guy behind you: Cedric Shaw, Tavian Banks, Tim Dwight. Who you picking as your guy that you want to lead into that last season?
I love all those guys, but I would say Tavian. Tavian and I, we did a lot of practice stuff together. We did some game stuff like his junior year, my senior year, but we came in together. I kind of wish that we could have had that one more year of us two together in the backfield doing our things. So I'd say Tavian.
Yeah.
And
well, I
also,
appreciate that.
Yeah, and also he's around here, so I see him all the time. So I'll tell him. I tell him how you asked me that question.
Yeah, we had him on a while back.
Okay.
Yeah. And we appreciate you answering honestly. It's kind of like saying which kid's your favorite. I mean, you love all 3 of them, but it's just it kind of puts you on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, I have it was mostly me and Shaw, so he had his chances with me, so why not Tavian? Tim was a receiver, so we had to. He was easy to go over there. Tim.
Just go outrun that guy out on the end.
Yeah.
All right, Rodney. Well, hey, Rodney, thank you so much for all your time as a Hawkeye and you running us through your awesome career with the Hawks and the Arena Football League and everything that you're up to now. And give both of your kids our best, and hopefully your son's going to get a great opportunity at a Division I school after he's done at Iowa Western.
Right. Well, I'm hoping. His thing was he was younger, so he's still 18, going into his sophomore year. So
That's
he's
young.
really, yes. But right now he's about 6'4", about 225, 230. So
All right.
That was the main thing, and he comes like a bat out of where.
All right, Kirk, get on it, man.
Right.
We'll keep an eye on him over here because he's just across the river from us. So we'll keep an eye on that and have to keep everybody educated. But Rodney, thanks again for coming on. It's been an honor and a pleasure. And one more time, give your business, give us a plug again and tell us what your business name is again for our listeners.
Yes, GT's Pilates and Personal Training and Filer Fitness.
Fantastic.
All right, Rodney. Thanks again, and go Hawks.
Go Hawks, baby.
Go Hawks.